So judging from the title of this video, you probably assume that I'm a furry. Well, although you're not 100% wrong, you're not 100% right either, because we're talking about UMAMUSUME. Now, this completely came out under the radar for me because I, again, thought it was like a furry anime. Essentially, it's more than that. It sounds like a joke, but I'm being so serious. It's more than that. Now, before we get into it, I do want to say that there's probably going to be spoilers, not now, obviously, because I'm going to introduce you this wonderful series that is UMAMUSUME. Starting with the introduction of UMAMUSUME. Essentially, horses don't exist, but horse girls do. And why? Don't know. It just happened, really. Their main goal in life is to be the fastest runner. Pretty simple, honestly. That's not much to it. They want to win as many races as they can before they go out of commission. We'll get to that later. It gets pretty sad. For the most part, it's pretty exciting. I mean, you see these characters grow up to be the fastest in Japan, or some goals even reach to being the fastest in the entire world. Now, getting into the main series, one thing that I want to mention before we do is that a lot of these names that you hear in the anime are essentially their counterparts to the real life horses that did exist or existed. Yeah, existed. Some of them are no longer here. Rest in peace, Uharu Urara. But a lot of the things do kind of mirror the real life horses' careers within the anime. Whatever happened in real life happened within the anime, but because it's an anime, some of the things are taken up a notch, especially when it comes to running and how fast they are going. But essentially, everything follows just as is. The wins match the wins and the losses match the losses, but let me tell you, the losses really do suck. I still get like anxious when I know that an Uma is going to lose. Yeah, it's just sad. It's just that. But this is where we start getting to the spoiler territory. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I highly suggest you click off, save it for later, and maybe come back. Season 1 follows Special Week, and that's what was thought to be our main character, as you know, it followed her a lot of the times from the very beginning to the end of the first episode, because there are a lot of other Umas that are introduced in the team called Spica with their trainer that is severely underrated, obviously, because there's only like maybe 4 members at the beginning, but it essentially skyrockets once Special Week starts running, as they see the potential that she has to be one of the best in Japan. And essentially it follows her, then he jumps to another character called Silent Suzuka, and then another horse. It just gets all over the place, and that's essentially how UMAMUSUME works. It doesn't really just follow a specific character, it follows many with other characters surrounding them. Because essentially the horses that we're mainly, the UMAMUSUMEs that we are mainly focused on, are within a same era, if that makes sense. So this group is running with this group in this generation of Umas, and then this season 2 would carry on to this specific generation of Umas, and then so on and so forth with the other series and movies. Then you get to season 2, where it mainly revolves around 2 other Umas and their group again. You got Teo, I forgot her, Tokai Teo, I'm pretty sure is her first name, Tokai, but Teo is her last name. That's essentially what I name her to make it easier. Then Major McQueen, which they have a rivalry, and this one seems to be very depressing compared to the first season, because injuries happen pretty often, especially with Teo. And it's pretty depressing again. It's sad, and it doesn't get any better in season 3, because now we are following 2 other ones that are big rivals and, you know, childhood friends. They grew up together and they went to the same school. Just one debuted a little earlier than the other one. But this one follows Kita-san Black and I forgot her first name again, but Diamond. Essentially, Kita-san Black ends up being a very underrated but very awesome horse Uma. But again, not all sunshine and rainbows, because she ends up losing her peak. I mean, it's pretty much age within the real life counterpart, but just losing her edge in the anime. And it's sad because you kind of see her hyperventilate a crap ton after every single race, but it is a little bit happy. You know, you get a little happy ending because, you know, you don't want to be too depressed because it's UMAMUSUME. You don't want to be too sad. So she ends up winning the last races before she officially retires. What happens to the UMAMUSUMEs that retire? Well, we'll get to that now, because they go to the Dream series. Now, I didn't mention this before at all, but the Twinkle series is essentially the main focus within the entire anime, as these are kind of where like the active horses run the big tournaments or the big races. So that's where the main focus are. That's where all the fans are looking, and that's essentially, you know, all the hype is all about. But the ones that go retire, they do still run, but the runs aren't like serious. You can kind of think of it as like an off-season versus an on-season series, and that's pretty much what the Dreaming series is. The UMAMUSUMEs that end up retiring or fortunately passing away from their real life counterparts move on to the Dream series, where they could run for as long as they want. But we know we don't really get that within the anime because it's a dream, and it's not really reality. Don't want to get too into that. It's sad. It's really depressing. To make it a little bit happier, Dream series, they get to run for forever. Twinkle series is just the main focus. And it is very sad when you have to hear the forced retirement that these Umas have to go through. But then we follow the movies. The movies again, essentially the same thing, just kind of pushed down a little bit. I mean, the only movie that we do have is the one that revolves around Jungle Pocket. Again, that one's really cool. I kind of like the whole trio. This one only focused on 3 UMAMUSUMEs. You got Agnes Tachyon, Jungle Pocket, as I mentioned earlier, and some other one, I keep forgetting her name, but that one ended up being a little bit more depressing. Her character, she ended up getting like sick. She's essentially sick throughout the entire time, but she still wants to run, and her ambition to run is to catch and follow this friend that she has, and I could only assume is just Agnes Tachyon, because kind of mirrors throughout the movie. And then now you get to one of the most hyped, and what I'm assuming what brought the most attention to everybody was Cinderella Grey, which this one revolves around Oguri Cap. And my god, this is I really don't want to talk about it because I want you to see it for yourself. It's just that great. It really does blow the movie and Pretty Derby out of the water. Just go watch UMAMUSUME Cinderella Grey. It is just that good. And again, before you do, click off and whatever, season 1 is only out. Season 2 is to come out. And just letting you know, if you had other UMAMUSUMEs that were your favorites, I think Oguri Cap is going to take that position. Unless you play the game, then, I 100% understand. She's probably not gonna be your favorite. Speaking of the game, I haven't played it for myself yet, but I do have it downloaded, and I do plan on playing it because I want to get, I guess, if there is any more lore within the UMAMUSUMEs in the game, I want to know about it. And, who doesn't want to have their Umas, win? And you can kind of gamble. It's a gacha game. So if you're a fan of gambling and tossing your money away, by all means, download the game, buy some pulls, and hopefully get the UMAMUSUME that you are aiming for. But honestly, because of this anime, it ended up taking an effect in my entire life, because every time that I go work out, every time that I go to school and study or take a test or something, I always imagine that I am leveling up with the Umas. I know that sounds very nerdy, dorky, and whatever. I understand I am a freaking loser, but it does help me out a lot. I could just say that UMAMUSUME has taken over my entire life because that's just the mentality I have. If you played the game, the little health bar thingy, that's essentially what I have. It's not really health bar, it's a stamina bar, but it's the same thing. I level myself up with imaginary carrots. Yeah, I gotta really think about what's going on up here. It's definitely not normal, but it does help. And I am succeeding kind of in life. I don't know, really. It does help. It does help. If you think so otherwise, then, welcome to the club. You're part of the weirdo panda group. Anyways, yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about. UMAMUSUME just came up from under the radar and became a very big hit. I know the series has been out for a very long time, but just until recently, till the gacha game came out, it just blew up in everyone's feed. TikTok, a lot of cool edits, especially Oguri Cap and Agnes Tachyon. Those are honestly my 2 favorite UMAMUSUMEs. Anyways, thank you for making it this far into the video. If you are a fan of UMAMUSUME, drop down in the comments who's your favorite UMAMUSUME. Give me your top 3 or top 5. I only have top 3 in no particular order, but Goat Chip, Agnes Tachyon, and Oguri Cap. Those are the goats. Goat Chip especially. She's very weird. Anyways, yeah, leave them down in the comments. Appreciate y'all. If y'all want to like and subscribe, I won't hold you accountable. I would greatly appreciate it, but if y'all don't want to, that's fine. Anyways, you have a great one, and I will see y'all next time. Adios.